We're terrible for saying that we'll follow up with long-term reviews of bike stuff and then never doing it. So I've come up with a genius solution. Here's 7 product reviews in one video. Starting with Halo wheels. For £330 a set, this is the wheel set I used to cycle the length of Thailand recently. They're a multi-surface, disc brake, through axle, 700C, tubeless ready, which is how I had them set up. They are multi-surface. They have all the usual free hub options. They have a 21mm internal and 25mm external width and have a relatively high spoke count. Halo actually used the same hubs on some of their mountain bike wheel sets, which would indicate to me that they're pretty well sealed. In my experience, I found that to be true. After a decent chunk of miles on some quite questionable roads,
how's your Pinarello?
And even some underwater action, the wheels are still perfectly true. The spoke tensions are all very similar to how they were out of the box and very consistent. The hubs are both running quiet and smooth, unlike some of the entry-level wheel sets that we've tested in the past. The only thing that could be considered a downside, which isn't really a downside, is that wheels at this price point are robust. Therefore they weigh... I've lost the wheels. 2.16 kilograms with the valves in.
It's worth noting that these wheels come with a 6-bolt rotor fixing attachment fix. The rotor is attached with not 1, not 2, not 3 or 4 or even 5, but 6 bolts to fix the rotor directly onto the hub. Rotors have 2 fastening methods, one of which is this 6-bolt, which we typically see on more affordable wheels. And an alternative to that is a center lock, like on this very fancy Envy wheel that I have here, where it fits over the top and then you fasten it with the tool that you also use on a cassette, a lock ring. Just something to bear in mind if you are switching your wheels around or just need to change your rotors. Get the right ones. Goddamn bike industry and all their compatibility challenges.
It's a solid wheel set, unbeatable price. Great job, Halo. Number 2, also ridden recently through Thailand, Microshift Sword. And I apologise, it's still partially attached to my bike, which I haven't unpacked yet. And yes, the trip was like 2 months ago. This is a 1x version with a wide range cassette, which I wasn't able to use all of the gears on, and this isn't Microshift's fault. I had the wrong mech hanger for my bike. So if there's any lesson here, make sure you have the right mech hanger for your bike. This is the epitome of a no frills, no fuss group set. And they make a point of this in their marketing, which I'm a fan of. It's compatible with Shimano free hubs, bottom brackets, and chains. It's incredibly easy to fit and install if you have the right mech hanger. I did the fitting myself in a kitchen with a basic toolbox from Amazon. The levers I found to be very comfortable, but I do have quite big hands, and they are large. If you're a smaller-handed individual, you might want to test this out somewhere before buying. Thankfully, there is lever reach adjustment, so you can adjust how far away the lever is from your bar. The shifting is relatively smooth and crisp. It's a cabled braking system. We've run this with both rim brakes initially, and then with cabled discs. The performance with the rim brakes was fantastic, as you would expect. With cabled discs, it does leave a lot to be desired. However, with the TRP calipers that I was using, these Microshift levers performed better than the Tiagra levers I was running with the same calipers before. Whatever they've done, perhaps it's the pivot point inside the lever, you just have better purchase and it takes less force to create the same braking power. So I'm a fan of these levers for that reason. The rubber on the hoods is grippy and comfortable. There are loads of gearing options and a fantastic range of gears as well. So for around £300, I think this is a bargain, and I'm sure you're going to see it on lots of people's bikes, particularly in the adventure space. It seems really suited to that kind of riding. I'm going to strip this, put it on another bike, and keep riding. It's really great. I might switch to some better brake calipers though. Number 3 is Pirelli P0 Race Slicks in 40mm. Yes, this is a race tyre in 40mm width. Absolutely massive. I have previously ridden these in their normal, smaller version, 30mm, or maybe even 28s, and they've been a pretty good tyre. It's clearly a race tyre because I managed to puncture it. In fact, I think I'm cursed because every tyre I test punctures within the first 10 minutes. Hopefully you would be luckier. They're extremely supple, grippy, and would be perfectly placed on a race bike. They are made in Bollate, Italy. I don't know if I pronounced that right, with a 120 threads per inch nylon casing. Because of the width, we're essentially looking at light gravel tire weights here, about 460 grams per tire, just because there's so much more rubber. I ran these at about 50 psi with my loaded bike and significantly less than 40 when I was unloaded. This led to a very comfortable riding experience, and I had no problems keeping up with my friends who were also on loaded bikes but on much narrower tyres. I'm sure on paper they'll have slightly more rolling resistance than a narrow tyre, and certainly in terms of aerodynamics, it's just a bigger thing hitting the wind, but the big benefit was peace of mind. We didn't know what kind of road surfaces that we'd be hitting, and knowing that if we did hit a patch of gravel or a few kilometers worth of gravel, as it turns out, I didn't need to worry. I had loads of grip and way less chance of getting some pinch punches. Could you use them for a gravel ride? Probably yes, as long as it wasn't too extreme and it was dry. I did some normal road riding on these as well in the Californian mountains, and I had a great time. Would I want to ride them if I was trying to get some KOMs? No. But were they adequate for normal riding with friends? Absolutely yes. Big fat tires? Why not? And at the kind of pressures you end up running, your tubeless will actually work. Number 4 is the specialized comp stem. I got totally ripped off. I bought this for 50 quid when I wanted to lengthen the position on that bike that I just had here. And it turns out you can get these for about £20 online on almost all websites in the UK at the moment. What this is a black stem. But it has a secret. Here is the secret. It's a shim, or multiple shims if you haven't lost them like I have. They come in the box, and it means you can adjust the angle of the stem in increments of 2 degrees from plus or minus 8 degrees to 16 degrees, which is a pretty big range. Absolutely amazing if you want to explore different handlebar heights on your bike. Of course, you can run this stem positive or negative. So it's fantastic if, for whatever reason, you need your handlebars higher. Perhaps you have physiological limitations or you just want your bars higher. This could be a really useful product. It's usual measurements, so 1 1/8 steerer, 31.8 handlebar clamp, and every single bolt on it is a 4mm Allen key. None of that torque stuff. It's going to fit most modern bikes. Like I said, £20 online at the minute. I think that's a bargain. Even at £50, not a total disaster, and you won't have to remortgage your house, and it is a very good looking stem. Number 5, I have a weird one. The Reform Seymour saddle. It's a £260 carbon saddle that you plug in. Okay, so they've designed this with bike fitting in mind. In short, you slap it on a bike, put the bike on an indoor trainer, plug in the saddle, and start riding. The saddle then heats up and molds to your ass. This one I've ridden on and off for the last couple of years, and frankly, it's a very comfortable saddle. I've said many times on this channel that I prefer saddles with a pressure relief channel built into it. This hasn't got a hole, but I'm going to try and include some shots here. It has a very deep channel. For reference, random carbon saddle, 143 grams. Reform, 200 grams. The molding feature though, I struggle to comment on. I think I'm quite symmetrical, and I've attempted the molding a couple of times, and there has been some change. So I plugged this in, heated up, rode it on the turbo trainer, and tried to move around as much as I could to make sure it made a difference. And it did. I can feel on the carbon on the bottom of the saddle that it has made a change. I think I'm quite symmetrical because both sides feel the same, and I don't have any issues with a normal saddle. Looking online at some other reviews, people have had significant results with the molding process, particularly when the riders have more asymmetrical sit bones. Perhaps this is an excellent saddle for a bike fitting scenario where the person is very asymmetrical or sits on a saddle wonky. On to the negatives. The saddle has oval rails, so it's only going to work with some seat posts. And the charger is a special magnetic fitting, which as far as I can tell is unique. And I've lost it. I'd rather it be something a little bit more common, even if it added a few grams. It is a great looking saddle though. The molding feature definitely works, and the price is high, but not that much higher than a lot of high-end carbon saddles anyway. Number 6 is the Fizik Vento Power Strap Aero Weave shoes. What a mouthful. And one of the maddest looking cycling shoes I've ever seen. It's kind of like bandages. They do white and black ones too, which are a little bit more reserved than this mad pink colour. This is Fizik's super light road shoe offering. First up, they cost £350 or $399. Expensive. They have an extremely light and breathable net style upper, very stiff carbon sole with a 3-bolt cleat fitting, power straps, which is just fancy Velcro. They have a good size range and they do half sizes for the majority of that range, just not at the far ends. I found them extremely comfortable and I have pretty wide feet. There's a huge amount of personal preference here though. For what it's worth, the sole doesn't extend very high around your foot. So the soft upper is going to deform and it will suit a lot of different people's foot shapes. It all seems great on paper. The biggest downside with these shoes though is that they are freezing cold to ride in England. We've had them over winter, admittedly, but even when the weather has reached 15 degrees, they're still pretty chilly. The uppers have such a large weave for breathability that the wind just blows straight through them. Awesome if you live somewhere hot, and awesome if you want a super light pair of shoes for a short event. Like, I imagine these are going to be very popular in the British hill climb scene.
You can literally see through them. That's weird. The coldest shoes in the world, or an alternative for them, is indoor cycling, where you can keep your feet nice and fresh and breezy. Should we find out how much the size 41s weigh? I'm sure you want to know. 372 grams.
The next issue, which I found a bit of an annoyance, was the fastening system. It's basically just Velcro, but adjusting it when you're on the fly, it's more difficult than a BOA system, which I'm used to. Instead of being able to click one ratchet at a time, you have to readjust the whole Velcro strap, and then you end up going too far, making your shoe too tight, and then you do it again and you end up too loose. And it's just not quite as easy. Maybe you're a person who never has to adjust their shoes on their rides, then go for it, get a pair of these, you'll be golden. But if you like to adjust your shoes and your feet swell, which is definitely the case for me, then I think I would prefer a BOA system, which Fizik definitely do other models with, even though they'd be a little bit heavier. Last on today's list is the Evigors e-bike kit, an electric bicycle kit specifically aimed at high-end road bikes. You might have seen the episode that we made dedicated to this kit a while back. Now, we had a fantastic time. We installed it on my blue Villia and we rode it until the battery ran out, and during that ride, it was awesome. It was powerful, I felt like the strongest rider in the world, and the installation process was pretty easy too. The problem is, when we ran it down to 0, the rear wheel locked up.
That's locked. That does not move at all.
And in such a way, I couldn't even pedal the bike. We recharged it, and it's still locked up. We took it back to the studio, dismantled the whole thing, still locked up.
No, still locked.
And then we contacted Evigors to see what they had to say. They sent us a new wheel. This isn't it, this is the front one. But let's grab it and see if the same thing happens. Curious. The new wheel they've sent is clearly a newer model, which is matte finish and not shiny. Other than that, they look identical. The motors look identical.
So the bike that we previously had this electric wheel set up on has subsequently been stripped, rebuilt with other stuff for other videos. So we are botching together the simplest setup we possibly can for this to work. It involves a set of rollers and plugging in the wheel and leaving the battery on the floor. This is not something that you should try at home, and I'm completely against Francis doing it, even though I'm telling him it's the only option he's got.
I haven't ridden rollers in ages. 50k an hour! I'm not even trying!
You're not even moving, what are you talking about?
50k an hour!
Just a reminder, as per our original video about this e-bike conversion kit, if you use one of these e-bike conversion kits, you almost certainly are going to void your warranty of your bike. So remember to bear that in mind.
I'm bored, Jimmy. Air traffic controller.
Many hours later.
We've gone down 1 bar. 1 bar. Why is you charged the battery like 6 months ago? Why is the battery held charged so well? It's gone back up, sir. It's gone back up. I've only got rid of 1 bar out of 5. Okay, I gave up riding on the rollers. It was taking too long. An hour down, and I've just ridden home, which is uphill the whole way. And I'm now on red on the battery. Report back in a bit, or tomorrow if I have to ride it back in again.
The next day.
I'm riding back into work, and I daren't turn on the motor just in case it locks up until I get into town and I'm within walking distance. I think we've done it. I think we've done it. Flashing battery, it said error. It hasn't locked up. That's just me working now. So last time it said error on the screen and then just went black and then it was locked. This time, the screen is still on and I can ride it like a normal bike. I should probably point out, I rode it to work this morning almost the whole way with it off and it still felt like a normal bike.
So it is fantastic that this system now works. Just a reminder that they have sent us this replacement knowing that we are going to be making a YouTube video about it. So if they didn't ensure 100% that we were getting one that was definitely going to work, that would be quite wild of them, wouldn't it? We're not saying that we have been treated any differently, but it is just something to be aware of. Our conclusion with this kit is that it's so good to see products like this existing. However, it's very expensive and it will void the warranty of your bike. Almost certainly. So what I would do if I was going to spend a significant amount of money on a bike that was an e-bike is I would buy a dedicated one from a manufacturer that is already built and has a warranty and functions as an e-bike should. It's good, but there are some challenges with it. Please like and subscribe. We hope you enjoyed this video and we hope we got some value out of all of these different things that we've considered. It's quite fun. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? I did.
No, because I spent most of it on the rollers.
Yeah.